Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our podcast.
Today we're covering the MCU movie Captain America, the First Avenger.
Preempting the epic Avengers movie, this film follows Steve Rogers, who wants to help defend his country and accepts a super soldier serum, that's the tongue twister,
Yes,
that turns him into the First Avenger, Captain America. Oh my!
Yes! And before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get updates on future podcasts and World of Pause videos.
Yes, and this is one of my top 3 favorite Marvel superhero films of all time.
Yes, I remember when it first came out, and this is when they were still slowly building up the cinematic universe. This is where they finally established one. But seeing the character, come to life on screen, because they had done it before, but it looks like they hadn't really hit that mark until this one. Because everything fit perfectly.
Yes, and again, this is one of my top 3 favorites of all time for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Just the story itself, I don't know, it was just like you said, it was perfectly done. And we had seen, of course, Chris Evans be a superhero not once but 2 times before.
Right.
Once as
the Human Torch.
Right.
And then what was the second time he played? I know he was the voice of Casey in one of the animated Turtle movies. Mm-hmm. But I'm not sure what the other superhero was besides that. Yeah, that's the one I remember the most is Johnny Storm.
And then also he was in, of course, Scott Pilgrim versus
the World.
Yes. Yeah. And he was one of the guys the girl was dating.
Yeah.
But he was just perfect for this role. It was like he had been practicing and preparing with all the other roles for this one.
Right.
And as we know, for some reason, people didn't like him as Johnny Storm, right?
No, that was a weird one. Like,
but I did. He was okay to me. I mean, I didn't find anything wrong with it.
Well, it was better than the reboot, so...
But, exactly. But for me, this was perfect for him. It was like, this was the role he was meant to play. He looked good. His acting was so natural. He just embodied everything Captain America was meant to be in the comics. Mm-hmm. He personified it in human form. He's just perfect in this role.
Right, the all-American hero.
Yes. And then the story was great. The special effects were great. Of course, when he was a weakling and he really wanted to serve his country, and they had done the green screen.
It was sort of like I think like a green screen where they put his face on another person's body.
And then he takes the serum and suddenly he becomes this beefcake, as during that time the word would have been used. And it's so funny because you have Carter, she comes along and they got all these other men there who were naturally the way they were, and somehow she focused on him because he was able to outsmart them.
Oh yeah, they had to get yes. They said no one's gotten this flag in 18 years, and everyone trying to climb it, and they kept falling over and said, "Okay, it's time to go." And he looked at it. He went over. He loosened the bolt in it and let the pole fall over, and then got the flag and gave it to him.
And Peggy Carter was in love.
That was hilarious. like, well, you didn't say how you had to get it.
It was like he was her artist to Holly Short.
I was like, you didn't say how to get it. That counted. So I was like, well, he passed. There you go.
So you got so much of the story that makes up what the MCU is about,
right,
in here, and why he, later on, Iron Man became the leader, but why Captain America, you could see, really was the one you thought would be the leader of the Avengers.
Yeah, this is the First Avenger.
Right.
But I guess, since he was, stuck in the ice and really wasn't familiar with all these things in modern day, maybe that's why it didn't happen. I think he only took charge when specifically something he knew about, like with Hydra or Skull or the Winter Soldier. When it's something had to do with what he knew from the time period he was in, or an old nemesis or an old friend, then he took charge.
And it's so funny because you segue right into what I was going to say. We were introduced to all of these villains and people through, as you said, Red Skull, Hydra, and so forth.
Right.
And these were people that we'd only seen in comics prior. And then with this movie, you got to see them all again, you know, brought to life by the actors that played them, who did fantastic jobs in here. Everyone, every single person in every single role did a fantastic job. And then we even got Peggy Carter long before she got her TV series.
Yes.
And it was fantastic. They brought her back to play that role on TV and then recast it. And again, it's just a great movie that really showed what Marvel wanted the MCU to represent, what it really wanted it to be, and the dreams it had for that franchise. And this is a great way to start it.
Yes.
I mean, this is action pretty much all throughout. There's suspense. There's things you have to figure out. You're not told directly unless you read the comics.
Right.
And again, the casting was brilliant for everyone. Everyone was perfectly cast. And you were left with the cliffhanger.
Right.
And you got the beginning, as you told me, of having the after trailer teaser.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, after the movie's over, you have, well, first you have the scene before the credits, and then after the credits, instead of a post-credit scene, you get a trailer for the Avengers. Like, you get, like, one little scene that they re-edited when they got to the movie, and they were hyping you up for the team-up movie, The Avengers, which was going to come the following year. So it was like getting you ready, because they never did anything like that again. You think they would with a lot of their movies because they put out movie after movie after movie and a show. You think, hey, here's the trailer for the next thing. As soon as you finish with that, get ready for this next year. And that would hype people up. But maybe because, you know, people push things back now, they can no longer keep that accurate. They keep putting things off because of the event that happened later, so maybe that's why. But it was still a great idea to do that. It's like, hey, you've seen all the movies with them singularly, now get ready for the team-up movie, which they should have done for Ultron and Infinity War and Endgame. They should have done that for each Avengers movie to show, like, here's coming, all the characters coming together.
Yes. So, which movie was this in the universe that was released? Which number was it?
I think it was number 4, because they had,
Hulk.
5. They had 5.
Hulk was the first.
Yeah, they had Iron Man, they had Hulk, then they had Iron Man 2, they had Thor, then Captain America. So this was number 5.
Now the Hulk wasn't first because remember they've had 3 movies.
Yeah, and
but only one you said counts towards MCU.
The one called the Incredible Hulk counts within the MCU. The one just called Hulk was just its own thing. This is before they started making an MCU.
Right. And yeah, it's incredible how each of those is made differently. But again, with Captain America, Iron Man was great, don't get me wrong. You know, I love Iron Man, especially the first one, love Robert Downey Jr. But this movie here, this was just, here is what the MCU could be. Here is what a real hero looks like. He's honorable, he has values, he's lovable, he really cares about people, and he really wanted to serve his country back during a time when that was really important because of what was going on, and he was willing to sacrifice himself for the good of humanity.
Yeah.
And again, Chris Evans really portrayed beautifully bringing this character to life, because I know there are some that do like the comics and some kind of aren't crazy about the way he's portrayed in the books. But I think, again, the way that he portrayed it, it was wonderful. And I think it really helped probably give a resurgence to those comics by people going, hey, let me read and see what really happened. And then we were blessed many years after this movie to be gifted with a lot of retro comics from one of our older cousins.
Exactly.
And we were like, oh my gosh. And there were so many original Captain Americas in there that, of course, we never read or seen. So it helped us to appreciate and learn more about the character.
Right. And it's great because, like you said, if they never read it, this accurately portrays the character, unlike with most of these things now where they change things up and leave it up to creative interpretation. But here they kept the essence of Captain America
Definitely.
intact. So even if you've never read a single Captain America comic, you feel like you're watching this character and it feels right. It doesn't feel like, oh, something's off. This doesn't feel like this should be how it goes. You're seeing Captain America as he is, whether you know about the comics or not. And that's how you should do an adaptation for the ones who've never read the source material.
Right. Also, we were introduced to Bucky Barnes, and he's older than he actually was in the comic. So they aged him up and made them more friends rather than a relationship of friends and best buddies.
Yeah.
Rather than being him a mentor.
Yeah, because in one version we saw he was like a teenager or something, like he was a little sidekick. So instead of that, they went, like you said, more like soldier buddies instead.
And we also met...
so it reminded me of like the Thundercats, what they did to Lionel and Tigra.
And we also met Tony Stark's dad.
Yes.
Introduced to him as well.
Right, and he helped make the serum and the machine that would turn into the super soldier, which is why I connected when they did the Winter Soldier and the Civil War movies, when when Bucky was connected to what happened with Tony Stark's parents. So it's neat how all that's set up, and he already knew Stark, but basically he knew his dad. Now he doesn't meet his son. It's like, man, you look just alike. It was like a really neat thing to see that element come up later.
Definitely.
And why he was able to really be friends with him a little quickly, because he already knew his dad.
Right. And then, a la Avatar, we get to see that he gets frozen.
Yeah, frozen.
And then he wakes up.
But only not in 100 years this time.
Right. And then he wakes up, and then they take and they draw the connecting lines with Nick Fury. And they didn't want to, I don't want to say upset him. They didn't want to startle him because they wanted to make everything look like he was in his own time.
Right.
So they could slowly let him adjust and tell him what had happened. But, he woke up, he noticed immediately something was wrong, and he got the heck out of there. And it was one of the best scenes in the movie, seeing him trying to get away. Like, oh my gosh.
Right.
They didn't expect that.
Right.
And it's like
he caught on that
70-year-old man, he wakes up and he's like 70-something now. Or had been 70 years.
I think it been like
he was
70,
70s.
yeah.
He was in his 70s. And he wakes up and he was like, nothing had changed.
Yeah.
So he was a super soldier.
Right.
And then, everything he knew was gone. He had to adjust. But he adjusted well. Again, letting you know the strength of this character. And he adjusted well, and he was ready just to go back, get to the business of helping people and helping his country and being a soldier and being loyal. And again, this is one of the most perfect movies in the MCU universe. Again, we got to see Peggy Carter before, of course, he got frozen. And then after he awakened, he learned that, there was a threat, a different type of threat, not the one that he went to sleep to. But he awakened to a different threat in a different world.
Right.
And he did very well.
Yeah. And the even better part about this movie is that they have set up the two different ways to watch the MCU movies. You can watch them in the order they came out, like from Iron Man, Hulk, so for the years they came out in order.
Right.
Or you can watch them as they call it in chronological order. In the orders of the movies take place in the different time periods, and watch from then like it's a beginning to end story, which was pretty neat because the story works regardless of the order you watch it in.
Right, definitely.
So it's actually a really brilliant way they have set it up. So whether you are chronologically or in the release of the films in order, it still tells a complete story. It just probably seemed like one thing happens after another, almost like you're watching a big grand episode of one show.
Yes. So, we know you've seen this movie, and we know you love it the same as we do, but let us know what you think in the comments below. How excited you were if you saw it when it originally came out in 2011, or if you saw it later, what your favorite parts were. Were you excited to know there were going to be 2 additional movies that Chris Evans got to portray Captain America in before you had Infinity War, I should say, in Endgame. And again, this is just one of my top 3 favorites ever in this universe. Absolutely.
Oh, and be sure to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get updates of future podcasts and more Paws videos.
And more on the MCU movies.
Yes, definitely be covering more of those.
Yes.
Thank you so much for watching. I'm Oscar Entertainment.
And I'm Mom Entertainment.
Have a fantastic day.
Peace.
Rivers and streams, plucking sunlight from the sky in my pocket.